Most people will spend the next 6 months drifting through life without a single clear objective. But you could rewrite your entire reality in the time it takes most people to finish a Netflix season. Imagine standing 6 months from now as a man who is wealthier, stronger, and more widely respected. This transformation is not a dream, but the result of consistent and ruthless action every single day. You are currently living in the gap between who you are and who you could actually become. Why is that distance so vast, and why does greatness feel like such a heavy uphill battle? Is it a lack of talent holding you back, or is it a deep-seated biological glitch? The harsh truth is that your brain was never actually designed for greatness or peak performance. Evolution built your mind for two simple goals: survival in the wild and the preservation of comfort. This is a biological betrayal that keeps you tethered to the mediocre habits of your ancestors. Your limbic system craves the safety of the known while actively punishing any attempt at growth. It functions like a software system running on obsolete hardware that is constantly crashing under pressure. Every time you reach for cheap dopamine, your brain thinks it is helping you survive another day. To escape this cycle, you must master the override method and reclaim your ultimate personal sovereignty. This framework allows you to perform psychological alchemy, turning your darkest impulses into raw, disciplined power. It requires a permanent shift in perspective, moving from being the victim to becoming the master. You must learn the difference between the impulsive soldier and the disciplined, cold-eyed commander within. The soldier seeks immediate relief, while the commander executes the mission regardless of his feelings. Most men allow the soldier to lead, which results in a life of regret and wasted potential. By applying the 3-second kill switch, you can silence the soldier before he sabotages your progress. 6 months of ruthless execution is the non-negotiable contract you must sign with your future self. This period of time is sufficient to rebuild your body, your bank account, and your reputation. However, your biology will fight you every step of the way to maintain the status quo. Your mind will scream for rest and comfort the moment the initial excitement begins to fade. There is a specific reason you haven't reached your potential yet, and it's hidden in your skull. To defeat the enemy, you must first understand the architecture hidden inside your own skull. You are trying to win a modern war with a 3-pound machine that hasn't evolved in ages. Your brain hasn't seen a significant firmware update in over 10,000 years of human history. This biological betrayal occurs because your ancient hardware is mismatched with your digital ambitions. Did you think you were lazy, or is your brain just doing its job too well? Within your mind, the limbic system operates as an ancient guard dog against any perceived discomfort. The primary directive of this primitive brain is energy conservation to ensure your survival. To your ancient brain, every saved calorie is a victory against the threat of potential starvation. It perceives hard work and deep focus as a threat and a waste of vital caloric expenditure. When you reach for your goals, your brain interprets the effort as a danger to your safety. Using this Stone Age spear to fight a digital revolution is why you feel constantly stuck. You are experiencing a civil war between the commander of logic and the soldier of instinct. Cheap dopamine acts as a false signal of safety, keeping you trapped in a loop of comfort. To achieve true sovereignty, you must learn to bypass these prehistoric triggers and take back command. This is where the override method becomes your most powerful weapon in the fight for your future. We will use psychological alchemy to turn your survival instincts into fuel for high-performance discipline. Your brain is not broken. It is simply operating on a code that no longer serves you. You must learn that what you call procrastination is actually your brain trying to save your life. Every time you hesitate, your brain is calculating the caloric cost of your next big move. It prefers the safety of the cave over the uncertainty of the modern-day digital arena. You must recognize these signals not as your own thoughts, but as prehistoric echoes. The 3-second kill switch is the only way to silence the screaming demands of your primitive biology. Once you understand the mechanics of this betrayal, you can begin the process of total mastery. To your primitive mind, the modern concept of hustle looks exactly like a path toward death. Here is exactly why your ancient biological machine is fighting against your every modern ambition. Every time you think about doing something hard, a chemical alarm goes off inside your brain. This is not just a lack of willpower, it is a literal flood of biological resistance. This is the exact moment of friction where most men lose their battle for true greatness. You feel that heavy wall in your chest the second you try to start something difficult. Your limbic system is holding you hostage, treating your modern ambition like a lethal predator. Undertaking difficult tasks triggers a survival response that instantly floods your entire system with cortisol. This stress hormone creates a thick psychological friction that feels almost impossible to push through alone. Your brain perceives your modern hustle as a direct threat to your safety and survival. The limbic system acts as an emergency brake that slams down the moment you hit the gas. This biological betrayal turns your own mind into the greatest obstacle you will ever face. You are witnessing a civil war between the commander and the soldier inside your skull. The soldier wants comfort and safety, while the commander demands growth and ultimate sovereignty. When you try to work, your internal braking mechanism activates to stop you in your tracks. This resistance is not a character flaw. It is a feature of your ancient survival hardware. Relying on willpower alone to fight this chemical flood is like holding a flashlight in a hurricane. You cannot simply think your way out of a physiological response designed to save your life. Cheap dopamine has trained your brain to fear any effort that does not provide instant rewards. Every difficult task becomes a mountain that your primitive mind refuses to climb for you. To overcome this friction, you need more than just grit. You need psychological alchemy. The override method is the only way to bypass this ancient alarm system and take control. Without a 3-second kill switch, you will remain a slave to your own biological impulses. You must learn to silence the alarm before the cortisol has a chance to paralyze you. This is where the battle for your future is won or lost in a few heartbeats. You are not weak. You are simply fighting a machine designed for a different era. Willpower is a failing tool in this storm. You need a much better strategy for victory. Stop looking for motivation and start looking for boredom to find your true psychological edge. To fix the machine of your mind, you must first learn to starve the monster. Your brain is currently drowning in cheap dopamine, leaving you paralyzed by endless digital noise. This constant stimulation is a biological betrayal that prevents you from reaching your true potential. The override method requires you to confront the silence you have been running from for years. When was the last time you were truly bored without a screen to shield your eyes? Are you using your phone to hide from the immense power of your own untapped potential? Think of boredom as the low-fuel light flashing on your mind's complex dashboard. Scientifically, boredom is a biological signal indicating that you should be performing a meaningful action. It is not a void to be filled, but a call from your deeper self to explore. Historically, this uncomfortable restlessness drove our ancestors to hunt, build, and explore new worlds. Without the itch of boredom, humanity would have remained stagnant in the safety of the caves. Today, you kill that evolutionary drive every time you reach for another hit of cheap dopamine. You must activate the 3-second kill switch the moment you feel the urge to drift away. This is where the commander must finally take control over the impulses of the soldier. Do not wait for a spark of inspiration to begin the difficult tasks ahead of you. Scientific research proves that action is actually required before you can ever feel truly motivated. Motivation is not the cause of your progress, but the rewarding consequence of your initial movement. Every small step you take generates natural dopamine, fueling your desire to keep pushing forward. This psychological alchemy transforms the lead of procrastination into the gold of absolute sovereign focus. By choosing the hard path, you reclaim your sovereignty from the primitive grip of the limbic system. Hard work becomes appealing only when you stop feeding your brain the easy, hollow alternatives. Embrace the silence, for it is the only place where your inner greatness can finally speak. True discipline is found in the quiet moments before the noise of the world takes over. You must learn to value the friction of effort over the ease of digital escape. This shift in perspective allows you to rebuild your focus from the ground up. Every time you resist the urge to scroll, you are strengthening your internal authority. The battle for your future is fought in the seconds between boredom and action. Stop running from the void and start using it as a launchpad for your evolution. If you cannot sit in a room alone, you cannot lead a life that truly matters. This is the core of the override method, the primary weapon you will use to win this war. You have a 3-second window before your brain realizes you're trying to grow and shuts it down. 3 seconds to kill the negotiation and assert your sovereignty over the primitive urges of your mind. Procrastination isn't a character flaw. It is a mechanical failure occurring in the critical negotiation phase. This phase is the dangerous gap that exists between your initial thought and its physical execution. Every time you hesitate, you allow the limbic system to start its persuasive dialogue of comfort. To bypass this biological betrayal, you must adopt the rigid discipline of the 3-second kill switch. The override method demands that you move physically toward your task within exactly 3 short seconds. When the thought of a difficult task strikes, the countdown for your future self begins immediately. 1 second passes, and your brain is still processing the command you just issued from headquarters. 2 seconds in, the internal resistance starts searching for reasons to remain in a sedentary state. By the 3rd second, you must be in motion, or the psychological alchemy of fear takes root. Waiting any longer than 3 seconds triggers the limbic system's powerful fear and negotiation response. This is where the commander loses control and the soldier retreats into the safety of cheap dopamine. Your brain is designed to keep you safe, but it mistakes growth for a life-threatening danger. It will offer 1,000 excuses to keep you pinned down in the trenches of your comfort. Will you move toward the challenge, or will you negotiate with the ghost of your past? Every time you act within that window, you are reclaiming the throne of your own consciousness. This isn't just a habit. It's a structural rewiring of how you interact with your own biology. You are training the brain to obey the command of action before it can offer a rebuttal. Are you the sovereign commander of your life, or are you a subject to your impulses? Speed is the only currency that matters when you are fighting against 10,000 years of evolution. The gap between thinking and doing is where your potential goes to die a quiet, comfortable death. Close that gap with physical movement and watch as the walls of resistance crumble before you. Do not give the monster a chance to speak. Silence it with the weight of your momentum. Remember that every second after the 3rd is a bullet in the foot of your future self. Most people wait for a lightning strike of inspiration before they even consider taking the first step. You believe you need to feel ready, energized, or inspired to finally start your difficult work. This reliance on your internal emotional state is the ultimate trap set by your own limbic system. Waiting for the right feeling is a biological betrayal that keeps your true potential locked away forever. You are looking for a spark, but the sparks only fly once the gears are already turning. The common belief that motivation leads to action is a dangerous myth that fuels your digital distraction. This misunderstanding forces you to rely on cheap dopamine while you wait for a feeling that never comes. In reality, your brain is designed to reward the movement itself, not the thought of moving. Psychological alchemy occurs when you stop caring about how you feel and focus entirely on what you do. Scientific research proves that action is actually the requirement for motivation, rather than the result of it. You do not act because you feel motivated. You feel motivated because you have already started acting. The override method demands that you ignore the internal voices whispering that you aren't ready to start. By moving your body first, you force your mind to follow the lead of your physical sovereignty. Every time you take action, you trigger a specific chemical reaction deep inside your complex neural pathways. Scientific studies confirm that taking action is what actually generates dopamine within your brain's reward centers. This surge of internal dopamine provides the fuel you were originally waiting for to begin your journey. You are literally manufacturing your own motivation through the simple act of refusing to stay still. The commander does not ask the soldier if he feels like fighting today's difficult and necessary battle. Sovereignty is found in the moment you realize your feelings are irrelevant to the mission at hand. Use your 3-second kill switch to bypass the hesitation and jump straight into the productive work. Stop searching for a magical spark and start creating the friction that eventually ignites the internal fire. The chemical alarm in your brain will eventually quiet down once the biological reward system kicks in. This is the core of the override method, taking control of your chemistry through cold, calculated physical action. Your future self is waiting for you to stop being a slave to your current emotional state. True discipline is the ability to function at a high level regardless of your internal weather patterns. When you act without feeling, you reclaim the power that the limbic system has stolen from you. Remember that the reward is hidden at the end of the effort, not at the beginning. You must commit to the movement before the mind will ever grant you the gift of focus. Transcend your biology by understanding that motivation is a byproduct of the work you are doing. Execute the mission now, and let the feelings catch up to your relentless and unstoppable progress. Every time you move when you don't want it to, you are promoting the CEO in your mind. This isn't just about productivity. It is about who is actually in charge of your entire life. Think of your prefrontal cortex as the CEO, the rational leader sitting at the head of the table. In contrast, your amygdala acts like a scared child, screaming every time things get a little difficult. When you hesitate, You are letting that terrified toddler take control of your entire psychological operation. By using the 3-second kill switch, you effectively fire that scared child and regain your seat. Overriding that initial hesitation functions as intense neurological training for your internal commander and sovereign self. Each act of discipline physically strengthens your prefrontal cortex, reinforcing your ability to lead with clarity. Simultaneously, this relentless action weakens the amygdala's power to trigger those paralyzing and distracting chemical alarms. You are engaging in psychological alchemy, turning base fear into the pure gold of true personal sovereignty. How many promises have you broken to yourself this week while hunting for hits of cheap dopamine? Every time you bail on a goal, you are teaching your brain that your word means nothing. True self-confidence is not a feeling. It is the track record of every promise you actually kept. When the commander finally overrides the soldier, you build a foundation of trust within your own skull. This is how you defeat the biological betrayal that has kept you stuck in neutral for years. Stop waiting for the limbic system to give you permission to become the man you want to be. Your brain is a 3-pound machine that requires a firm hand to navigate through the modern chaos. Every morning you wake up is a fresh opportunity to prove who is really running your company. The override method turns every difficult moment into a high-intensity workout for your brain's executive center. You are no longer a victim of your impulses, but a master of your own internal architecture. This neurological shift creates a momentum that makes the next hard task even easier to execute. Confidence grows naturally when you realize you can trust yourself to do exactly what you said. You are building a history of wins that the scared child can no longer argue against. Mastering your mind starts with the simple act of refusing to listen to your own weak excuses. Remember, confidence isn't a vague emotion. It is a proven track record of your own absolute integrity. Habits often fail because you are still the same person trying to force a different result. To change the output of your life, you must first rewrite your core identity from within. Biological overrides are powerful, but they require stable environmental anchors to keep you grounded. Think of these environmental totems as anchor points for a ship caught in a massive storm. Without them, your limbic system will eventually pull you back into the sea of distraction. Most people try to build new habits while desperately clinging to their old, comfortable selves. Personal identity is far more influential in dictating your daily behavior than any simple habit. Are you a person trying to work hard, or are you truly a high performer? The distinction seems small, but it is the foundation of your psychological alchemy. When you identify as a master, your actions naturally align with that internal standard. The soldier obeys orders, but the commander defines the very nature of the mission. You must move beyond the 3-second kill switch and start living as a true sovereign. This shift requires more than just willpower. It needs physical triggers in your environment. Your brain is a pattern-matching machine that reacts instantly to the world around you. What does your current environment say about who you are and what you value? Environmental totems, like specific headphones or a dedicated workspace, trigger a conditioned response. These items act as physical signals that tell your mind it is time for deep focus. Putting on your work uniform creates a psychological barrier against the pull of cheap dopamine. It is the exact moment you step into your psychological armor and prepare for battle. Every time you use these totems, you are reinforcing the sovereignty of the commander. You aren't just wearing clothes. You are assuming the role of your future self. This conditioning creates a shortcut through the resistance that usually halts your progress. Stop waiting for motivation and start using your surroundings to force the internal change. The physical world is the workbench where you forge your new, disciplined identity. True freedom comes from choosing the triggers that lead you toward your highest potential. Remember that the clothes you wear are the uniform of the person you are becoming. This is why the 6-month transformation is so rare, because the traps are everywhere around you. Why do you feel so exhausted when you have done nothing but sit around all day? It is because the modern world has successfully weaponized your own dopamine against your survival. Your brain is being fed neurological candy with zero nutritional value for your actual soul. The modern world provides engineered comfort designed to keep you sedated and completely passive. Are you being engineered into a state of neurological softness by things you never earned? Every click and swipe offers instant entertainment that bypasses your need for real achievement. This one-click validation feels like progress, but it is actually a form of biological betrayal. You are trapped in a loop of cheap dopamine that demands more while giving back nothing. Think about the endless scrolling where dopamine acquired from TikTok fades away in mere seconds. This chemical spike is a fleeting ghost that leaves you feeling hollow and more drained. Your limbic system is being hijacked by developers who understand your biology better than you. They have turned your attention into currency, and you are spending it on your own destruction. This constant stimulation creates a neurological softness that makes real work feel physically painful. Is your brain addicted to a digital high that you did absolutely nothing to deserve? The override method is the only way to break this cycle and reclaim your lost sovereignty. You must stop allowing the world to feed you these empty calories of the mind. When you choose the easy path, you are demoting the commander and empowering the soldier. Every unearned reward softens the mental steel required to execute the 3-second kill switch. This psychological alchemy turns your potential into lead instead of the gold you were promised. True power comes from starving the monster that craves validation from a glowing glass screen. You are being hunted by algorithms that want to keep you comfortably numb and perpetually weak. Breaking free requires you to recognize that your phone is essentially a digital slot machine. Your attention is the only real wealth you have, yet you give it away freely. Your phone is a slot machine, and your attention is the only currency that matters. That slot machine in your pocket is feeding you a lie that destroys your focus daily. Every scroll through your feed provides a hit of cheap dopamine that vanishes almost instantly. You are chasing a ghost that leaves you more exhausted than when you first started scrolling. This is the TikTok fade, a chemical high that disappears before the next video even begins. Your brain is being rewired to value immediate stimulation over the pursuit of lifelong greatness. This biological betrayal ensures you remain a passive passenger in your own life's journey. The limbic system demands the easy win, but your future self pays the ultimate price. True sovereignty requires you to step away from the screen and face the productive silence. Imagine the difference between that fleeting spark and the steady glow of real physical accomplishment. When you finally complete a grueling task, your brain rewards you with something far deeper. Finishing a difficult challenge releases a surge of serotonin that lasts long after the work ends. This isn't just a chemical reaction. It is the birth of genuine, unshakable pride. Psychological alchemy turns the lead of your struggle into the gold of lasting self-respect. The soldier within you wants the shortcut, but the commander demands the hard road forward. Every time you choose the struggle, you are reinforcing the architecture of your new identity. The override method is your primary weapon against the shallow pull of the digital abyss. You must learn to kill the craving for cheap dopamine before it kills your ambition. Use your 3-second kill switch to silence the noise and return to the mission at hand. One path leads to a hollow existence, while the other leads to absolute mental mastery. Stop trading your life for seconds of distraction and start investing in lasting pride today. Every swipe is a vote for your own stagnation and a total surrender to the machine. You are caught in a loop where the reward is designed to never actually satisfy you. Real growth happens in the space where the phone is dark and the real work begins. This is where you reclaim the sovereignty that the digital world has stolen from you. The war for your attention is won in these small, disciplined moments of absolute focus. To join the top 1%, you must welcome the very pain everyone else runs from. Comfort is a seductive enemy that keeps you trapped in a life of mediocrity and safety. That friction you feel during hard tasks is not a signal to stop your progress today. Instead, think of this resistance as the weight required to trigger deep and lasting psychological growth. Just as muscle strength is built through micro tears in the fibers during intense physical exertion. Your mind requires similar structural damage to rebuild itself into something far more powerful than before. Every time you push through boredom, you are creating the micro tears needed for mental dominance. This process is what transforms a soft, distracted brain into a hardened weapon of pure will. David Goggins calls this essential process, callousing the mind to handle life's most brutal challenges. Just like skin thickens under pressure, your resolve strengthens every time you refuse to give up. You are teaching your limbic system that its alarm bells no longer control your daily actions. This psychological alchemy is the heart of the override method, turning leaden fear into gold. To truly master yourself, you must also embrace what Carl Jung called integrating your dark shadow. Your shadow contains the raw, untapped power that most people are too terrified to ever face. By acknowledging your darker impulses, you gain total sovereignty over your focus and your future path. Most men run from their shadow, leaving them vulnerable to the hollow trap of cheap dopamine. but you will use that internal friction to fuel your journey toward the top 1%. Persisting through this mental resistance is the only way to separate yourself from the average masses. The common man seeks the path of least resistance, while the uncommon man seeks the friction. Use the 3-second kill switch to silence the limbic system before it talks you out of work. Every second you hold the line against your own weakness, you are claiming your ultimate sovereignty. This is not just about habits. It is about forging an entirely new identity through struggle. Will you stay soft and forgotten, or will you callous your mind to become truly uncommon? The biological betrayal ends here, as you learn to love the burn of genuine mental effort. You don't avoid the friction anymore because you know it is the sensation of getting stronger. Stop being the soldier who retreats and start being the commander who welcomes the front lines. From this moment on, you will use every obstacle as a signal to push even harder. When you stop running from the friction, you unlock a hidden chemical reward system within your mind. This is where the biological betrayal of the limbic system finally meets its match. You have spent months drowning in cheap dopamine, but now it is time for something real. True psychological alchemy happens when you transform raw effort into a lasting sense of personal victory. Every time you execute the 3-second kill switch, you are preparing for a deeper neurological payoff. Completing a difficult task triggers a massive release of serotonin that anchors your newfound discipline. This is not the fleeting high of a scroll. It is the steady burn of genuine pride. You are finally experiencing the chemistry of the win, a feeling that cannot be bought or faked. While others chase shadows on a screen, you are building a biological foundation for long-term growth. The override method is not just about survival. It is about reclaiming your internal throne through action. Every finished objective serves as a building block for the sovereignty you have been desperately seeking. Think of the serotonin as the fuel that keeps the commander sharp and the soldier ready. When the task is done, the pride you feel is your brain's way of saying well done. This chemical reinforcement is what makes the next hard task slightly easier to initiate and conquer. You are no longer a slave to your instincts. You are the master of your own reward. Imagine the satisfaction of looking back at a day filled with friction and seeing only victories. This is the virtuous cycle that separates the top 1% from the drifting, distracted masses. Your brain begins to crave the pride of completion, more than the ease of temporary comfort. You are rewriting the script of your life using the very chemicals once meant to keep you safe. By mastering this internal chemistry, you ensure that your growth becomes an unstoppable, self-sustaining force. This is the override, the scientific backdoor into your own biology that changes everything you once knew. Your brain is not a stone carved by fate. It is actually clay waiting for a shape. You have the power to reshape the very way your mind responds to every difficult, grueling effort. We call this neuroplasticity, the scientific term for your brain's incredible ability to rewrite its own code. This biological mechanism serves as a secret entrance to bypass your deeply ingrained and broken impulse control. Remember that 10,000-year-old architecture? It is finally time to upgrade your ancient, survival-based software. You are moving beyond the biological betrayal that has kept you trapped in a cycle of constant stagnation. Neuroplasticity allows you to forge new pathways, turning the limbic system from a master into a servant. Through psychological alchemy, you can begin to transform the very friction of hard work into pure fuel. What if you could actually make the hardest tasks feel as rewarding as your favorite guilty pleasures? You are learning to reverse the brain's natural polarity, shifting its magnetic pull away from cheap dopamine. This process is the core of the override method, giving you the tools to rebuild your sovereignty. Every time you use the 3-second kill switch, you are physically rewiring a neural connection for success. You are no longer just a passenger in your skull. You are finally becoming the lead architect. Are you truly ready to rewrite your impulse control and stop falling for the same old traps? Imagine a world where your brain instinctively chooses the hard path because it craves the ultimate growth. This isn't just motivation. It is a physical restructuring of how your neurons communicate with each other. By starving the monster of digital distractions, you create the space for this new internal logic. The battle between the commander and the soldier is finally being won by the one who leads. You are now the ultimate architect, and the internal code is finally yours to rewrite completely. Think of your brain not as a monolith, but as a complex machine running a specific code. This code governs every move you make, keeping you locked in cycles of biological betrayal. To break free, you need a map of the internal system that dictates your every impulse. We call this the payoff loop, a 4-stage cycle that defines your daily psychological alchemy. Mastering these 4 distinct phases is the only way to claim true sovereignty over your future. It all starts with the trigger, that sudden spark of desire for cheap dopamine and comfort. This is the moment your limbic system screams for the easy path, demanding immediate satisfaction. You feel the pull toward your phone or the couch, a silent command from your biology. Most people surrender here, letting the trigger dictate their direction without a second thought or fight. But you are different, because you recognize this trigger as the first stage of the battle. Next comes the override, where the commander steps forward to silence the noise of the soldier. This is the heart of the override method, the precise moment you seize control of your fate. You deploy the 3-second kill switch, severing the link between the impulse and inevitable failure. In this brief window, you rewrite the code, choosing the hard path over the easy lie. In this silence, the psychological alchemy begins, transforming a moment of weakness into a position of power. The third stage is the action, the physical execution of the command your mind just issued. You move your body despite the friction, proving that you are no longer a slave to feeling. This is where the work happens, far away from the seductive lure of unearned and cheap dopamine. Every second spent in this disciplined action calluses your mind against the next wave of internal resistance. You are building a new identity, 1 rep and 1 focused minute at a single time. Finally, you reach the reward, the neurological payoff that seals this new programming into your brain. This is not the hollow buzz of a screen, but the deep pride of a hard-won victory. Your brain releases a different chemical signature when you conquer friction instead of running away from it. This reward reinforces the loop, making the next override easier and the commander significantly more powerful. Each completed cycle acts as a vote for the version of yourself that actually wins. You are no longer drifting. You are operating a system designed for total and absolute dominance. The trigger, override, action, and reward form a fortress around your newly reclaimed mental sovereignty. This system turns your biology from a treacherous enemy into your most loyal and dedicated soldier. Memorize this map, for it is the only way to navigate the dark terrain of self-mastery. The code is rewritten, and the path to the top 1% is finally clear. This leads us to the final level of the override method, total and absolute sovereignty. Inside of you, 2 men are locked in a relentless battle for control of your life. One man craves safety, snacks, and the easy comfort of cheap dopamine from your screen. The other man hungers for sovereignty, lasting power, and the respect of a life well lived. Only one of these versions of yourself can win this war for your ultimate future. Philosophers like Carl Jung and Jordan Peterson have studied this internal war for nearly a century. They argue that your psyche contains a constant conflict between a higher self and a shadow. This lower self is driven by primitive urges that seek to undermine your long-term success. To truly become a good man, you must first become a dangerous man under control. Sovereignty is not the absence of power, but the absolute mastery over the power you possess. Your higher self acts as the commander, directing your energy toward meaningful and difficult objectives. Meanwhile, the lower self operates as a rebellious soldier, constantly looking for a way to desert. Transforming this inner turmoil into disciplined action is the ultimate form of psychological alchemy. You must recognize when your limbic system is attempting another desperate act of biological betrayal. This is where the 3-second kill switch becomes your most potent weapon in the field. Every time you execute the override, you are choosing which man deserves to lead. If the lower self wins, you remain a slave to impulses and forgotten potential forever. But when the higher self takes command, you claim the sovereignty of your own kingdom. Ask yourself honestly, who is currently winning the silent battle for your very soul? Are you truly a dangerous man under control, or simply a harmless one by default? The question is no longer about how to change, but who will be left standing. Your 6-month clock starts now, ticking down the seconds until your biological betrayal begins again. Most will let this video end and immediately surrender to the next hit of cheap dopamine. But you have the override method now, a psychological weapon designed to seize absolute sovereignty. Will you walk away as the soldier, or will you finally promote the commander within? The algorithm won't let me share everything here, censoring the most potent tools of dark psychology. Certain truths about human manipulation are deemed too dangerous for a public, wide-reaching audience. For those ready to ascend to the architect level, a deeper layer of knowledge awaits. Think of our exclusive tier as the blueprint room where Forbidden's philosophy is finally unveiled. There we explore elite manipulation tactics that the surface world is never meant to see. Accessing this vault requires more than just interest. It requires a commitment to total psychological alchemy. Click the join button now to bypass the filters and claim your seat among the elite. This is where we strip away the comfort and reveal the raw mechanics of human influence. Do not let your limbic system convince you to wait for a better time to start. Every moment of hesitation is a win for the primitive machine still fighting for control. The 3-second kill switch is your primary tool to silence the doubt and execute movement. Join the inner circle today and master the hidden codes that govern the world around you. Your journey from a drifting observer to a sovereign architect starts with a single decisive click. Are you truly ready to weaponize your mind and leave the 99% behind forever? Secure your access to the Forbidden's vault now before the window of opportunities slams shut. The architect level is calling. Step into the blueprint room and rewrite your reality today.